And good afternoon, everyone. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor. My name is Jim, and this is the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. This is a directed network, and I'm net control. If at any time during this net should an emergency arise, please notify net control, and we'll stand by and allow those in need to access this frequency. Is there any priority or emergency traffic at this time? Hearing nothing, we will continue. This is a net that's all about ham radio. If you have a radio you want to check out, give us a shout. We're recording now live till 5, and then we'll post it up on YouTube, so you can come by later and do a call letter search for KC9VKV, and that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page, where we're now featuring about 930 QSO-VLOG Airchecks. Also this afternoon, we're running 4 Internet SDR receivers monitoring Rochester, New York, Milford, Pennsylvania, Atlanta, Georgia, and Arlington, Virginia, trying to get the best copy of our 100-watt friends. Now, the audio from these 4 SDR receivers comes up on a 6-position rotary selector. Also on this selector is our local receiver audio. And today our local receiver is running 2 large 10-foot vertical magnetic loop antennas, one aimed north and south, the other east and west. The north and south loop can be rotated. They're selected by a 3-position rotary selector. Position 3 of this selector is a co-phase option that many times is 3 to 4 dB hotter than magloop 1 or 2 by themselves. And we do use a lot of rotary selectors in our shack, mainly because there's nothing faster than a rotary switch for comparing multiple signals. And today we'll be running 2 separate transmit and receive radios. Our normal modified YEASU FT990 will be the transmit radio, and an ICOM 7300 will be our test receiver radio. The idea being that the 7300 has a lot newer digital receive technology, so that's what we'll be evaluating. One of yesterday's great radios, the YEASU 990, in an A/B test with the newer ICOM Digital 7300. Of course, this is just a sidewalk survey, because they will not be sharing the same antenna. The 990 will be using a resonant no SWR dipole antenna, and the 7300 will be using our large twin 10-foot magnetic loop antennas with the co-phase option. Also today, we'll be running our new visual input source indicator. So when we switch receivers from the 7300 to the 990, you'll be able to hear the switch and see the switch on the video that you'll be able to check out on YouTube later on. Well, those are our working conditions. How about yours? This is the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. And now let's check in and see if Charlie K1GZL is on frequency to bring us up to date on the latest 40-meter band propagation. Charlie's QTH is up in the northern New Hampshire area, near the Canadian border. Charlie, got a copy?
Canadian border. Charlie, got a copy? Yeah, I sure do, Jim. You're 10 to 20 over 9 direct on a beautiful day yesterday and today, and finally I got the ice off my antenna. It was awful. I had a terrible time trying to load up. I had rime and everything else and frozen snow on there, but it went off yesterday and it's off now. You asked about propagation. Propagation into Australia this morning was very, very good, and here is ENVK3MO. He himself is northwest of Melbourne, Australia, about 55 miles, 80 or 85 kilometers, but he was talking about the hellacious wind they had in Melbourne, very bad at his place, but in Melbourne, I guess it was 90 to 100 miles per hour, and here's what he had to say about that.
It's been very windy. Very windy. I believe in Melbourne they had wind gusts of 146 kilometres an hour. I don't think we had that here, but on the other hand, it was definitely windy. A lot of tree branches flying around, and good idea to stay indoors when like that.
Okay, and that was a propagation this morning, Jim. K1GZL, go ahead.
Roger, Charlie. Now, did I hear him correctly, 146 kilometers. How fast is that in our speed?
How fast is that in our speed? I think that's around 95 miles per hour. 95 miles per hour. That is horrible. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would have to say that most of my antennas would be in the next county by the time a 95 mile an hour wind went through here, right, Roger?
95 mile an hour wind went through here, right, Roger? Okay, yeah, I'm afraid so. It might be if it was a westerly wind, it might end up in eastern Kentucky somewhere or West Virginia.
Oh, that's a Roger. Now, we do have some winds coming in from the west from time to time, and they prognosticate, 40 to 50 mile an hour, sometimes 60, but seldom above 60 miles an hour. So, at 60 miles an hour, I batten down the hatches for sure.
60 miles an hour, I batten down the hatches for sure. Okay, well, Roger on that. The thing that scares the heck out of me is ice. I've been so badly iced up here for a number of days, and finally it went off yesterday, but before that, I wasn't putting out much on 40 when I was working in, compared to normally 1,400 watts out. I was putting out 300-400 watts, and the loading was awful. The plate position, instead of on 40 meters on the amplifier, was on was over almost on the 80-meter position. On the 80-meter position, the load was 3 times what it should be to get anything out. It was terrible, but fortunately yesterday's sunshine and today's sunshine was absolutely beautiful. So we still have some snow on the fir trees, on the firs, but it's clear out, although it's starting to cloud up a little bit on the western horizon. But your signal is coming in 20-25 over direct on your last one.
Winds like that.
I hear him correctly. 146 kilometers. How fast is that in our speed? Okay, fast enough, Jim. Go ahead.
Hey, Roger that. Now, I suspect that you will, when you do get icing, you fire up the 5 kW to melt the ice off, Roger?
Yeah, 5 kW to melt the ice off, Roger. No, I wish it would. No, I can't. I can't run power like that. But I found that that doesn't seem to melt anything off. It does not melt anything off. By the way, our low this morning was 9 above zero, and the high today was 39. I think it's 37, 38 out right now, and sunny. But no, I don't think I've ever seen putting any power on at all. Seems to melt it off. It's stubborn. It sees me coming, Jim. Go ahead.
Oh, Roger. Now, I have inspected my 80-meter dipole on the tips. One time the tip was just going over a limb, and I use a RG6 quad, I think, for my element, and it had burnt through right where to touch the limb. It had burnt through the insulation. So I do know there's quite a bit of heat and circulation going on the tips of the dipoles, Roger. The tips of the dipoles, Roger.
Roger. But by the time when you consider the size of a quad, of course, a quad on 40 meters, the lengths are more than 130 feet. It's pretty well dispersed. It is dispersed out over the entire element, the power. But it doesn't seem to make any difference. Anyway, I can't load when the ice is that bad. I just cannot load the amp at all. It's awful. So I don't have a real good chance to put any high power to it. It's just terrible, the ice. But on the flip side of all this, you take the summertime. Our summers are beautiful up here. I guess I may have mentioned it before. We had 2 days back about 20 years ago, 18 years ago in July. It hit 90, but I've never seen anything over 90 degrees up here ever. Go ahead.
Roger, now I thought you were going to say we had 2 days 20 years ago where we had some nice weather. But anyway, listen, Charlie, I appreciate it so much, sir.
Listen, Charlie, I appreciate it so much, sir.
Okay, Jim. Well, look, thank you very, very much, and I'll try to catch you next Friday. Catch you next Friday at the usual time, unless I'm so iced up I can't load anything. For one thing, the resonant frequency goes way down the band, and I'm way up above where this thing resonates. So my SWR now is about 2.7 to 1. And my output is about 950. If it were 20 degrees colder, I'd be doing better. It's funny, when I get it below freezing, everything loads better, and the resonant frequency is a bit higher. Okay, Jim, the very, very best, and we'll try to keep track of propagation and see if we get a lot of sporadic E short skip in there, which cuts us off a little bit to the F layer. But this morning I didn't hear any sporadic E, but Ian was extremely strong in here this morning. Okay, the very best. Mike, if you're listening, in a few minutes I'll be down, or a couple minutes, around 150. 73, Jim, and have a very, very good contact the rest of the QSO. KC9VKV, K1GZL, Clarksville, Northern New Hampshire. Always a pleasure, Jim.
Roger, likewise, Charlie. 3 is that way, sir. That's Charlie K1GZL up around the border there, about 4 miles off the Canadian border in New Hampshire. And just a reminder, this is the Friday Afternoon QSO-VLOG Network. My name is Jim, KC9VKV, and I'm better known in some circles as Dr. VKV. And we are recording now live till 5, so if you have a radio you want to check out, give us a shout. We'll post this recording up on YouTube in the next couple of days, so when you go to YouTube, just do a call letter search for KC9VKV, and that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page. And on that page, you'll be looking for one QSO vlog entitled My Group Aircheck 13120. My Group Aircheck 13120. And with that, this is KC9VKV listening.
This is KC9VKV listening.
Alpha. HEW.
HEW, go ahead, sir. Give me the whole call sign, though.
This is Kilo November 4, calling Charlie Alpha. Are you talking to me, sir?
I think there was an HEW in there.
Okay, I'll let you have him. Roger. K4HEW, Joe, over in Raleigh, North Carolina. Roger, in the motorhome.
Roger, Joe, I thought I heard you in there.
Hey, good afternoon, and hope all's well. I am left the radio just the way it was a week ago, and nothing has changed except I got a little rain outside now, but outside of that, I've been getting some good reports on this radio, Roger.
Roger. Now, do you have any problems with stray RF in your motorhome?
Not at 100 watts, and not on 40 meters. 2 meters, it tends to pick up a little 60-cycle hum, but I'm not aware of any on HF, Roger.
Roger that. I have worked for a few broadcast stations. The last one I worked for was a 50,000-watt station that, there were folks that lived somewhat in the vicinity, like a couple of miles away, and their bed springs would make sounds of whatever the modulating signal was.
Well, you can load up a bed spring and it'll radiate. I do hear something through we've got a 5.1 Dolby speakers in the ceiling in this thing, and on 20 meters occasionally I can hear something up there, but that's because the antenna's cut for 40 and I'm making it work on 20 with an antenna tuner, but so there is some stray that comes back in that way, but at 100 watts I'm not going to worry about it.
Oh, roger that. Now, do you have your radio audio outside the box into an outboard amplifier and speaker system, or do you just use the radio?
Actually, I'm just through the radio. I have a set of headphones, but that's all.
Roger, Roger. I'm just curious. It's hard in that box to be able to reproduce the full audio that's actually being transmitted by a lot of these radios, and you actually almost have to go outside of the box into a more linear audio system to really be able to appreciate some of the audio that's coming across the airwaves.
Oh, I understand that. I've got a fairly good headphone set. It's made by Sennheiser, and I really enjoy listening to music through it because it has good bass response. But the 7300, if you've got a good strong signal, the 7300 makes pretty decent sound by itself, although an external speaker is always better.
Oh, yeah. Well, the 7300 acoustic speaker system has somewhat to be desired below maybe 250 cycles. The box just doesn't have enough cubes to really reproduce the lower frequencies that a lot of these transmitters are transmitting. Roger.
KC9VKV.
The station calling. Go ahead.
Sorry, to interrupt your speaker. Curious if you could just give me a quick note whether you're hearing any RF come back to my audio. I'm tracing a problem inside the shack this afternoon.
Roger, station. I barely have a copy on you. You're like 1 dB. Come up on mic and try that again.
Okay. You're not. That's very possible.
Roger, sir. You're 1 dB above my noise level. And I've gone through 4 internet SDRs, and I don't hear you on that. So don't know what to tell you. Maybe conditions will get better shortly.
All righty, sir. Thank you very much. You have yourself a great afternoon and enjoy. KC2CWC, 65 miles north of Manhattan.
Roger. Copy Manhattan. 3's to you, sir. If I come up to you, your signal will probably come up to me. Give me a shout. And back to you, K4HEW.
Yeah, roger that. I did hear him in there a moment ago. It sounded like he was a little below frequency, maybe 7187 or something like that.
I copied him on frequency. His audio was just fine. So if he had been off frequency now, he would have been pitch up or pitch down, but his pitch was perfect. So he was on 7188. Well, anyway, you're sounding good. A lot of low frequency material in your audio.
Is that a lot of low frequency in there?
But nice. You see, the thing is balance, and if you've got a nice top end, you can afford to have a good bottom end.
Oh, roger that. And I'm 2900 in width all the way across all 3 band adjustments.
Yeah, that's the best way. I don't see any use or any thing to gain by operating the 7300 and any other bandwidth but 100 to 2900. I mean, you start in those lesser modes, and the first thing that happens is you lose it off the top. You're losing it off the bottom, but you're losing it off the top. And the thing is, you want to keep your top end articulation, so you want to stay 100 to 2900. And if you need to get rid of some of that bottom, do it on EQ. But keep your top end through bandpads.
Oh, roger that. That's good for DX. That sounds normal too. Jim, it's been good talking to you. I'll let somebody else have a turn at the controls. And excuse me, I'll say 72. Good afternoon.
Roger. 3's that way. You have a real good afternoon, and you have a great weekend coming up. This is KC9VKV. And today and the next few weeks, we'll be conducting a sidewalk survey, a Navy receiver test between our normal modified YEASU FT990 and the newer digital influenced ICOM 7300. Right now, we're looking for stations. If you want to check in, this is KC9VKV.
November 3, Kilo Victor.
November 3 station, come back with a call sign again.
This is November 3.
Copy near Allentown, PA. What's the name?
That's Bob.
Oh my goodness, we have our friend with us this afternoon. We talk about mental illness, and bigger than heck, there it is right there.
I was going to say, I'm not hearing him up here in Allentown, but turn it back to you, Jim.
Roger. Well, it's probably, across the street. But anyway, what was the name there?
Oh, the name is Bob. Bravo, Oscar Bravo. QTH is Allentown, PA. I ran into you earlier this week, and I guess you hopefully helped me a little bit with a low-end equalizer and made some adjustments on the higher end, and just curious how this is working. Back to you.
Sounds good. Signal's fading just a little bit in and out, but by and large, when it's in, it's just beautiful. I think you've got a good handle on it. The thing is, make sure that you maintain mid-scale to 2/3 on your AOC. That's the trick to having a nice fat signal, Roger.
I just turned the mic gain down a little. I don't know if that changed anything, but that's where you are now. So turn it back to you.
Roger. Well, it looks like we have some deliberate QRM interference going on today. Another shining example of mental illness on the air. As you know, mental illness is when a person does something completely abnormal in a certain normal situation. Causing deliberate QRM interference is a completely abnormal reaction to hearing intelligent conversation, indicating that that person has a deep-seated lack of self-esteem and self-respect, manifesting in the need to try and interrupt and destroy that intelligent conversation that makes them feel so inferior and inadequate. But they're just powerless wimps in the background. That's exactly what they are, powerless wimps in the background of life. But, oh Lord, please forgive me for my intolerance. This is KC9VKV, and when I come face to face with mental illness, I feel led to prayer. So this is my prayer for the mentally ill. Oh Lord, I confess that I have judged those who struggle with mental illness. I have judged because I do not understand. Forgive me for making assumptions, and forgive me for my indifference. Oh Lord, please hear my prayer. Comfort and relieve those who are troubled in mind and spirit. Bring them hope, peace, and the consolation of a loving community. Grant patience and courage to the families and friends of those who are mentally ill. Increase their abilities to cope as they face the challenges of recovery. O Lord, protect and defend those living with mental illness. We seek your presence in their lives. Show them how to have a greater respect for their fellow man, and increase our ability to communicate with the mentally ill. This is KC9VKV, and my prayer for the mentally ill. And we continue with the QSO-VLOG network. If you have a radio you want to check out, well, let's go back to Bob up in PA. Bob, you still there?
Oh, yes, KC9 GKV. Yes, still here, and I don't know. I guess I don't hear the interfering station up here, which is good. So anyway, I've been listening to this on the monitor on the 7300, and it sounds a lot better than the settings I had prior to this, as far as then. So hopefully this is working out. Back to you.
Yeah, it sounds great. Sounds nice balance and a good signal. So you should be doing some great communicating, Roger.
Yes. And just make some contacts. Thank you again for everything that you do, and we'll let you go on and work with some other people. KC9VKV, this is N3GKV, and I'll be clear on your file.
Roger, Bob. 3Z YEASU, thanks for checking in. If you get a chance, join us next Friday. We'd love to have you. This is KC9VKV, the QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout.
Kilo Charlie 4, Zulu Mike Zulu.
Kilo Charlie 4, what was the rest?
Zulu Mike Zulu. How's it going, Jim?
Doing real well. What's going on there? What radio are you running?
Running an FTDX 3000, and I was just curious how it sounded.
All right. Come back and tell me a little bit about your antenna system. Let me hear it.
The antenna is an Edfend long wire antenna. It's about 135 feet long, 132 feet long, I think, and it's got a balun on the feed side. So it seems to be working out for me pretty well. I can make contacts on multiple bands with it. So just curious how how this thing sounds. I'm using a Rode microphone on here, so it's a Rode Procaster, I believe it is.
Roger, is that a dynamic or condenser?
This is a dynamic.
Roger, I've got a Rode condenser that I don't use on the radio. I have a studio that I use downstairs, and we use that mic. And we have some AKGs, and but that Rode, it does a good job.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious how it sounded. Haven't had it connected up here too long, but I've also got a Rode condenser. Got to run it through a little preamp, and I get some RF in that thing, so I usually don't use that.
Oh, Roger. Well, I do use a condenser micro. This is a condenser microphone here. I use a ART preamp. I don't know if you might be familiar with those.
Roger's probably the same one, maybe the same one I've got. I got an ART preamp. I use with mine too. But I probably need to, I don't know, put some filtering on it to filter out the RF.
I think I turned the corner when I decided to run 3 grounds. I have one ground just for the upper power stuff, the PA and the antenna switcher and tuner. And it didn't make much sense to me to put my preamp ground and my power amp ground on the same ground, Roger.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'd have to look at this again to see how I had it hooked up. I haven't used it in over a year, so I'm happy with what I've got here, I think, so I probably won't change it.
Oh, Roger, sounds good. No need. Just perfect like it is.
Alrighty, well, sounds good. Let's get back to helping others, and glad I got to talk with you and got some feedback on this KC4VMZ 73.
Roger. What was the name there?
Name here's Bill. Just don't live not too far from your destination, your location right now.
I thought I recognized that call sign. I just couldn't place it. It's been a while since we've talked, Bill.
Yeah, no, it's been a while, and I think last time it was on 2 meters or something. So, anyway, I'll let you get back at it.
Roger, Bill. Looking at your audio, you have a 2.5 to 3 dB dynamic range, which is nice and fat. Your average percent of peak modulation is somewhere between 80 and 85%, and your EQ curve is very, very nice.
All right. I don't think I'll try to change that. Sounds good. I appreciate that. KC4 VMZ 73.
Roger, Bill. 3 Z-Way, sir. This is KC9VKV, and we have cards and letters department. If I can find it, won't take but a second. That's famous last words. Okay, here we go. From our cards, letters, and comments department, from Vito, he says, and this is a comment. He says, "Hey Jim, you always do a great job, and you're welcome from your good friend Vito, VA3VMD." And this has to do with my posted description on the group Aircheck, where he came to my rescue. And let me read just this. "I promised myself for months now to make up a transmit cheat sheet for the ICOM 7300, but I just have not had the time. Well, the time has come. It's just amazing how I simply have let this go on, even after my Elmer secured the ICOM 7300 for my evaluation, and I have actually been actively using it on the air. The QSO-VLOG network, and the final straw came on this show when my good friend Vito, VA3VMD, from up in Canada, had to come to my rescue to tell a guy how to get from here to there on his 7300. Well, thanks ever so much, and the great assist from Vito, a major act of kindness. Well, I'm off my duff, and this I have posted now on my group Aircheck 1320, a cheat sheet for the 7300, how to get there and what to set when you get there. So if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page, and you'll be looking for my group Aircheck 1320. RS3385, and we have posted on that a cheat sheet of how to get to various things regarding your transmitter and what the settings should be when you get there. So if you're in doubt, check it out. This is KC9VKV listening. I have one station back in there, Sierra something. Right, I'm only copying you a couple of dB above my noise level. I haven't gone around for the internet SDRs, but come back and tell me about your antenna system, and I'll look for a better path. Roger.
Roger that, Pete. W8SO, name is Ken, Kilo Echo November, KCN. I'm located in Upper Michigan, right up on the U.S.-Canada border. And just wanted to check the full rig. I just stuck on the air just now to check out Jim. Over.
Roger. It sounds like you might be running a lower audio. I don't have that good a copy on you, but your dynamic range didn't seem to be as fat as it could be. What radio are you running, sir?
Running about a 1984 Santec Army C, and I'm using one of their old stock banana mics called 215P. Over.
Okay, are you fairly familiar with that radio?
Well, I've had a couple of them, 2 or 3 of them over time. This is the one I've kept in my collection. Over.
Okay, I would suggest the following. Bring your compressor online at about a 3. Engage your compressor at about a 3. Roger?
Yes, okay. I'll make a note of that. I'll go find where the compressor is on this doggone old rig here. Over.
All right, and let me give you a couple more notes, and you can sally forth when you get the chance. After you get the compressor online at a 3, with your mic gain in hand, go to your ALC meter and adjust your mic level to where the ALC is reflecting mid-scale to 2/3 operation. With mic gain, adjust your ALC meter to where the meter is running mid-scale to 2/3. Roger?
Oh, roger that. Will do. You bet. Okay, I see the ALC part here. I'll make those changes and check it out. Just wanted to be sure I was intelligible, I guess, Jim, and it sounds like at least you're copying me. Over.
Yes, I am now, but I can see very well that your dynamic range is probably about 8 dB, and what we want to do is fatten that up to where it's about 3 dB, and so you will be apparently twice as loud as what you are now, but with finesse. You won't be able to hear the compressor compressing or anything. It'll just be a fat, nice, undistorted signal. Roger?
Oh, roger that. Thank you very, very much. I sure appreciate the advice. I've got some notes here, and I'll just jump into this radio and see what I can do, Jim. KC9VKV, W8SO.
And what was the name there?
My name is Ken, Kilo Echo November.
Roger, Ken. All right. If you get a chance before we sign off at 5, give us a shout back, and we'll see what you sound like, Roger.
Roger, we'll do that. Thanks very, very much, Jim. Thanks for what you do. W8SO.
Roger, Roger. I'm writing slower and slower these days. I need to take some faster finger manipulations there to keep up with the call signs. 3's to you there, Ken, and like I say, if you get a chance, check back in. This is KC9VKV, the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout.
Victor Alpha 3, Japan Tango.
The Alpha 3 Japan Tango station. Come back with the call sign again.
Victoria America 3, Japan Tango, VA3 JT.
VA3JT, and what's the name, sir?
The name is Jim.
Well, I shouldn't be able to forget that. What radio are you running?
It's great to hear your voice. Running the ST-101 Echo. Very old. Older than me.
Oh, back when they used to make radios you could work on?
That's right, and thanks to you, I don't know if you remember, but thanks to you and your advice, I'm constantly, every day, working Pretoria, South Africa with a 5.9.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, that's great. That is, you have found the secret to manipulating Mother Nature.
Yes, and actually I'm only running 100 watts to a dipole.
Roger, Roger. Now that is a challenge. Although, I think that the dipole is one of the greatest antennas in the world for effective radiation, Roger.
Oh, Roger. Actually, yesterday I went out and I changed since the last time I changed it, the dipole 90 degrees. So you are sounding much better. I'll give you a better report, Jim, on the next over.
Oh, roger that, yes. A lot of folks don't realize, and, some folks say it isn't true, but I think there's tremendous directionality between dipoles as far as the way they lay, as far as running east, west, north, south, or derivatives between, because I do believe they radiate best broadband, and that is pre-emphasized like 600 miles away. That holds true, that signal is going to be strongest broadband to the dipole run, Roger.
Oh, Roger, that's for sure. Well, actually, what I'm planning today is just wondering how the audio is. I'm not swallowing the mic anymore like you told me to go back. I'm noticing that the ALC meter is right at full scale and won't come back.
You mean it's stuck?
No, let me put it down. Yeah, it goes... actually, now, it might be a switch, Jim. It's coming back up to half scale.
Roger. Well, it should. Actually, the ALC meter should fall down to 0 without modulation, Roger?
For sure. How do I check that? Do I have to put it on tune?
Well, you have to probably I would suggest read the book about accessing the ALC. Obviously you can only get the ALC during a transmit. Sometimes, like the ICOM 7300, if you're in the ALC mode and you hit transmit, it goes somewhere else, and you have to go back and bring the ALC back up again. Roger?
Oh, Roger, Jim. Okay, I'll get that book out and see where it is. Well. Actually, I'm on Vox, so when I go to ALC, should I put it on push to talk?
Well, I'll tell you, looking at your signal, looking at your audio, I think you're doing fine. I don't think you need to worry about the ALC. It looks like your dynamic range is between 3 and 2.5 dB, which means your average percent of peak modulation is 80 to 85%. So I don't think you need to do anything.
Okay, it could just be my old age. I'll leave it as is. What's that old saying? Don't wake up the dog?
Yeah, don't fix it if it ain't broke.
That's what I meant. Always nice to hear your voice, and always appreciate over all these years your advice, Jim. KC9VKV, Victor Alpha 3, Japan Tango.
Roger, Jim. 3's that way, sir. You have a great weekend sounding good. This is KC9VKV in the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout.
KC9VKV and 0 FSD.
N0 F, what was it?
November 0, Foxtrot Sierra Delta, Jim.
Roger. And what's the name there?
Here's Bill, Baker, India, Lima.
Roger, Bill. And what radio are you running, sir?
This is an ICOM 7610, and I was wondering if you could give me any insight on how it sounds.
Oh, yes, sir. Everything's copacetic. EQ curve is nice. Let's add some body to it. You've got a button there called Quick, and if you hit Quick, we'll go to Drive.
Where's that button, Jim? I'm not familiar. This is kind of a new radio for me, so there's buttons all over this thing.
Roger. This Quick button is to the left-hand side of your radio, Quick, and that will take you to Drive.
Well, let's see. I'm looking at transmit, timer, tuner, power, noise reduction, and so on and so forth. Is it in the menu?
Yeah, and you did say 7610, ICOM 7610?
Yeah.
Yeah, there should be on the left-hand side of that radio, there should be a button marked Quick. It's a push button. And the pressure's on. I think you might have hit your frequency button. Hello, Bill. I think you may have hit your frequency. This is KC9VKV and the QSO-VLOG network. Bill, did you find this again?
Yeah, hit upper sideband. Sorry, Jim. I'm just not seeing this quick button on this radio.
All right. Do you have your book handy?
Actually, no. I was just checking to see how the audio and everything sounded here, but I'll have to pull that out because this is a new radio, and I'm telling you, there's got to be 100 different settings on this thing.
Oh yes, I'm familiar. Well, and the transmit side. Well, let's do this. Do you know your way to the compressor?
Well, let's see. I don't think I have that compressor turned on.
Exactly, and we want to turn it on and run it at about a 3. Engage your compressor at about a 3.
Okay, I hit the compressor button here. It says, let me give it a try here. Okay, actually, it's up at a 5. I'm backing it down to a 3.
Exactly. All right, so I'm assuming you now are running your compressor at about a 3?
Yes, at a 3.
Okay, and what are you running the stock microphone?
Yeah, it's an ICOM hand mic.
Yes, sir. What you want to do is work that mic to the side of your lips. Do not work straight into it. Pull it to the side of your lips and work across it. If you work right into it, you get a lot of mouth noise. So you want to pull it to your side of your lips and talk across it. Roger?
Okay, Jim, how's that?
Excellent, excellent. Now, do you know your way to the ALC meter?
Ooh, let's see. Looking at this thing here, I'm not exactly sure where that might be.
All right, I think it's a meter. I'm not sure if it's the same setup as the 7300 as far as getting from one place to the other.
Well, I just hit the meter thing, and I'm now at meter ALC.
That's the one. Now, look at that meter as you talk naturally, and with mic gain in hand, adjust that meter to where it's running mid-scale to 2/3. Mid-scale to 2/3 as you speak by operating the mic gain control, and just talk in a normal manner.
Okay, well, I'm actually, it looks like it may be a little bit on the high side. It isn't going out of the red zone. I've just got to find the mic gain button here. That's the next thing I've got to find.
Do you have a multi-switch on the upper right-hand side of the meter there?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, gosh, please, whoever's tuning up, tune up not on an active frequency. Take it 3 up or 3 down, but not on a frequency that's in use.
I'm afraid I hit that multi-switch and took me off up to 28 megahertz. So I'll have to play with that a little later, Jim, to figure out how that works.
Roger. Okay, well, you're looking good there. Just take notes. Go to your ALC and adjust ALC for mid-scale to 2/3 operation by your mic gain control. Roger?
Roger, Roger. Well, thank you so much. We'll give that a try, and we'll see if we can't get this figured out. Just too many buttons and too few experiences with this thing so far.
Roger that, sir. Roger that, I understand. I have a cheat sheet for the 7300, but not for the 7610, sorry. But, when you find all that, then check back in, and we'll check and see how you're sounding. Roger?
Roger, roger. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. This is N0FSD.
This is KC9VKV, and gosh, we have more of the mentally ill deliberately causing QRM. Anyway, this is KC9VKV. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout. There's about 7 stations in there, and didn't have anybody in the clear. I'm right now. I was on my local 990. I'll separate and go to some of the internet SDRs and see if I can find some better signal. This is KC9VKV listening.
November 4, Whiskey Oscar Juliet.
Whiskey Oscar Juliet. Come back with a call sign again.
Roger, Jim. This is Kilo, November 4, Whiskey Oscar Juliet. The name is Roy in Central Virginia.
Roy in Central Virginia. Roger. Roy, what kind of radio are you running?
I am running the Kenwood TS-570SG, over.
TS-570G?
Correct, the SG, Sierra Golf.
Roger, roger. And, gosh, you said you were where?
I am in Culpeper, Virginia, central right in the heart of Virginia.
Roger that. I looked around. I have an Arlington SDR, but a lot of QRM on that. So I am copying you about 2 or 3 dB above my noise level. Roger.
Roger that, Jim. Anything you can do for me?
Well, I don't know. You running? What kind of antenna are you running?
Right now I'm on an NFED long wire. I can switch over to a Wyndham if you'd like to see if that's any better.
Yes, sir. Do me a favor here. Count to 10, and at 5, just take a brief half-second pause and switch. Can you switch antennas that quick?
Yes, I can.
All right. Give me a 10 count at 5. Take a pause after 5. Switch antennas and come back. And you don't have to really unkey even. Just don't speak when you transition from one antenna to the other.
Roger that. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Over.
Roger. The latter antennas seem to be working better by a couple of dB, Roger.
Which one's that, Jim?
The last one?
Okay, that's the Wyndham.
Okay, so what radio was that you said you were running?
I am running the Kenwood Tango Sierra 570 Sierra Golf.
Roger that. Okay, looking at your audio, it's fairly loose. You're about 8 dB dynamic range. We would like to close that to about 3 dB for a much fatter signal. So if you're ready, we start with the compressor. Engage the compressor at about a 3. Engage your compressor at about a 3. Roger?
Roger that. Let me get a run through the menu here.
I tell you what would be a good idea for everybody if you make a cheat sheet ahead of time and just keep it by your radio, particularly about your transmitter, how to get to various functions of your transmitter. And then when it comes time to do that, it's right there, and you've got a step-by-step way of getting to certain things, and it's in black and white, so it really helps you. How's you going, Roy? I tell you what, Roy, I think we've Mother Nature struck. I do not hear you hardly at all, not even moving my meter. Come back and try it again. Let me hear you.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Anything?
We got a little bit there, about 3 dB over my noise level. All right, so you've got your compressor in at about a 3. Is that a Roger?
Roger.
Okay, now we're looking for that ALC meter. Did you ever find it?
Roger.
K5, Deputy in.
ALC, yep.
K5 station, stand by, please. Go ahead, Virginia. Roy? KC9VKV, Roy, got a copy?
Roger. Hang on, let's see. Okay, all right, I got it.
All right, so adjust your mic level to where your ALC is running mid-scale to 2/3.
1, 2, okay, try to 2/3.
All right, how you doing there, Roy?
Okay, the ALC is at 2/3, over.
Yes, sir. Your modulation is looking a lot better now. You're probably about 4 dB, or 3.5 to 4 dB dynamic range. So you're coming up there. Just make sure that you're speaking in a natural tone of voice when you adjust your ALC level. If you go 1, 2, and then you start speaking softly like you normally would, or whatever, that calibration is no longer correct. You want to approach the meter with the same volume intensity of your speech that you would normally, and then just adjust that ALC for normal speaking where you're reading mid-scale to 2/3. Roger?
Roger. I'm talking across the microphone, and my ALC is it's right at 2/3, Jim, over.
Roger. Okay, so we're getting a good, nice, fat signal. Now we need, do you know where your EQ is?
Just past it. Hang on a sec.
This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, in the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. We're working now with Roy in Virginia. He's looking for his EQ. Roy, how you doing there?
There are 2 EQs on here, one for receive and one for receive EQ. I'm looking for the ICOM transmit monitor. Transmit. I don't see it here. It's in here somewhere. There's so many darn menu settings. But if you could give me an idea of where I should set it, I will do that so I don't waste time. Over.
Exactly, Roy. Let me give you some instructions there. When you find EQ, what you want to do is try to add a little more bottom end to your signal. You are kind of mid-rangey now, so we want to broaden that balance out. So you will be looking, do you know what kind of EQ you have? Is it a 3-band EQ?
I think it goes up, if I remember right, it goes up in increments of 5, over.
Do you have 3 controls for EQ or no? Do you have a bass, mid-range, and treble control?
No, it just goes through a segment of settings.
Well, does it have 2-band EQ, a treble and a bass?
No, it does not.
I don't think you have an EQ circuit then, sir. I mean, you either have to have a 3-band, a 2-band, or a 10-band parametric EQ. I mean, it's kind of in that area, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, if you ever find transmit EQ, what you want to do is add about 5 dB of bass boost. Maybe 4 dB of bass boost, and that will help your signal become much more balanced. As it is now, it's very mid-rangey. Roger?
Understand that, Jim. Understand. Over.
Roger, Roger. Well, 3's to you for right now, and I'll let you go on your search to find all those things and put them together. And if you do, and we're still on the air, come back and give us a shout. Roger?
Roger, this is KN4WOJ. Okay, thanks a lot, Jim. I will do that and check it. I got to tell you, Jim, this is the first time I've used this rig on sideband. I'm a CW operator most of the time, and this is the first time I have had this in voice sideband. Over.
KC2 CWT.
Station, stand by just a moment. All right, sir. Roy, I understand, and like I say, you should, when time permits, make a little cheat sheet of that radio transmitter aspects, so you'll be able to find things easier. Let me say 3's for now, Roy, and we'll catch you later. And if you find that stuff, give us a shout later on. Station calling. Go ahead, please.
Kilo Charlie 2, Charlie Whiskey Tango.
Charlie Whiskey Tango, go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. I was in here earlier.
Repeat. Charlie Whiskey Tango Station, go ahead. Well, I don't know what happened to Charlie Whiskey Tango. This is KC9VKV. Are you out there, Charlie Whiskey Tango? No. Okay. This is KC9VKV and the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG network. My name is Jim, KC9VKV, and I'm known better in some circles as Dr. VKV. And we are running our QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout.
Whiskey K9VKV from Whiskey 4, Japan, Papa Delta.
Whiskey 4, Japan, Papa Delta. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jim, good afternoon. Handles Pete. Pete's the name, and good to hear you again. And we do have a new radio. Just got it yesterday, a Kenwood Heat 90, so wanted to check in with you. We're still getting familiar with the buttons and knobs and adjusting EQ, etc., etc. Again, the name's Pete. We're down here near Charlotte, North Carolina. KC9 Victor, Kilowatt Victor from W4 Japan, Papa Delta.
Roger, Pete. No, just beautiful audio. The only thing is that that compressor is trying to suck up between words, so you might want to back off the compression just a little bit. We usually recommend a 3, but it just that was the only thing I could see. The equalization is fine, and the dynamic range is around 3 dB, so average peak modulation is 80 to 85%. Roger.
Yeah, okay, very good. I backed off a little bit there. And according to the meter, I probably could back off some more. But as I say, we're just dialing it in there, Jim. Go ahead.
Roger. What I do is key and then look at my watt meter or whatever, and just see how much residual blow-by it comes up on a dead key looking at your watt meter, and you want to find, probably pull that compressor back to where you don't have a bunch of reading on a dead key. Roger?
Yeah, okay, very good, Jim. Well, we'll play with it some more, but in the meantime, I'll let you run and pick up some more of the guys. KC9 Victor, Kilowatt Victor, W4 Japan, Papa Delta.
Roger. I'm seeing about 4 dB of a suck-up when that compressor expands. So, but beautiful signal and great. You must be 20 over, so well done. KC9VKV.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Victor Echo 2, X-Ray Kilo Victor.
X-Ray Kilo Victor, come back with a call sign again. Who is that, X-Ray Kilo Victor?
Victor Echo 3, X-Ray Kilo Victor.
Oh, Roger, this is KC9VKV, QSO-VLOG net. What's the name there?
The name at this end is Bob, and I'm running an old YEASU 920 radio.
All right. Check your ALC. You might be pretty hot on that. I hear a little distortion. I'm not sure exactly where it's coming from. If you can go to your ALC and adjust your ALC for mid-scale to 2/3. Roger?
Okay. Does that sound any better there?
Yeah, you've got some dynamic range in your audio now. Before it was limited. What I normally suggest is that you engage your compressor at about a 3. Now, when you do that, it doesn't necessarily do so much as giving you compression, but it does offer some degree of ballistic control on the peaks. So it kind of softens the peaks a little bit going into the limiter, and when we set the mic gain. And looking at the ALC, we get a much fatter signal. So if you would like, set your compressor at a 3, and we'll take it from there. Yeah, Bob, I don't know if are you in there still? KC9VKV, Bob, this is KC9VKV. Do you copy?
Yes, sir. You copy?
Yeah, I think Mother Nature's playing games. We've had some propagation changes here, Roger.
Oh, very good. Well, I made some adjustments here. I have the mic team at 12 o'clock and the compression at 9 o'clock. Does it make any difference?
All right, Bob, would you say at 9 o'clock, would that be 30%, 3 out of 10, 30 out of 100, somewhere in there?
Probably around 25%.
All right, maybe kick it up just a little bit hotter, just a little bit. Maybe take it up to 10 o'clock, somewhere in there, 10 o'clock, 10:30. Roger?
Hey, very good, sir. Did that make any difference, sir?
I think we're headed in the right direction if Mother Nature will continue to assist. All right, so now we want to go to our ALC meter with a mic gain in hand and adjust the ALC meter for mid-scale to 2/3 deflection. With your mic gain, adjust your ALC meter to mid-scale to 2/3. Roger?
Well, very good, but I can't see any kind of deflection. I have the ACL meter here, but I don't see any adjustments as I am making the adjustments on the control.
Your mic gain controls your ALC. Your mic gain controls your ALC. So just turn your mic gain up until you see your ALC meter running mid-scale to 2/3. Roger? And you have to be in transmit to do that. You hit transmit and then mic gain up or down or whatever it is that it takes to run that ALC meter at mid-scale to 2/3.
Okay, I don't see anything. No, I can't. Let me see. That's 1, 2, 3.
Did you find your ALC meter?
Well, it doesn't seem to be making any adjustments here on the meter itself.
Are you sure you're in the ALC meter mode?
1, 2, 3. Well, it says ALC's got the line across the bottom of the power meter.
Yes. What radio are you running?
YEASU 920.
Roger. Not familiar with that specifically, but if you're seeing your ALC meter moving, hopefully you are in the ALC mode, and you should be able to use your mic gain control to adjust the reading of that ALC where it reads between mid-scale and 2/3 as you speak.
Okay. I'm going to have to do a little more research here because I don't see that happening here. Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, Roger. Well, take notes then. You want your compressor in at a 3, which I think you've already done. Then you want to move to ALC, and with mic gain in hand, adjust your ALC meter to where it reads mid-scale to 2/3. And take notes on that. And then if you get a chance after you get that, I'll be looking for where your EQ is. And if I'm still on the air, give me a shout back. Roger?
Okay, very good, sir. Pleasure talking to you. KC9VKV, VE3XKV.
Roger. Now, I don't know what you did, but you look a little bit better ballistically. I mean, as far as your dynamic range, it looks a little fatter. But anyway, your ALC meter is the key to the operating that transmitter. It'll tell you more about what's going on in your audio than your best buddy will. Roger?
Oh, very good. I've been into the HF very long. For 20 years I've been messing around with VHF, UHF, and just thought I'd pick the HF up. So,
and we're in a learning curve on this radio. I've only been doing this for a couple of weeks.
Roger, sir. Well, I spent about 2.5 to 3 years in UHF, VHF, built all kinds of Yagi antennas, and I understand where you're coming from, and welcome aboard to the magic world of HF. And, we get your radio set up, and you'll be Katie Bar the door talking to all them folks over in Europe, Roger.
Well, hopefully that'll be the case. As soon as I get some more antennas up here, actually talking to you on a 40-meter quarter wave vertical, no ground plane, center fed with a coil, so it seems to be working all right. But we're going to carry on and try an 80-meter sky antenna and go from there.
Roger, Bob. Well, gosh, you're giving me a 10 over. My receiver's running a reduced RF level. I'm staying out of compression in the receiver so I can not have a bunch of suck up between words, which just is noise. So we do keep the RF gain in the front end very low. We run also with ATTENUATE, and we're running right now the 7300, and you are 10 dB, the last transmission, you were 10 dB above my residual noise level. Since I can't really give you an S-meter reading because of my RF gain is so low, but I can give you a reading of, I've had your voice peaked at 0 level on the VU meter, and when you cease to speak, the meter drops down and receives the residual noise level of the band, and you were 10 dB above the noise level, Roger. So, and that does equate a lot to like a 10 over, Roger.
I appreciate the help, sir. And I don't want to take up the here that you have.
You think?
Maybe we should pass it on to a new contestant.
Roger, Bob. Well, let me say threes to you, sir. Appreciate the check-in. If you get a chance, join us next Friday, and we'll compare notes and see how you're doing. This is the QSO-VLOG network for Friday afternoon. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout.
Whiskey Delta 4, Bravo, Bravo, Bravo.
Whiskey Delta 4. What was the rest?
Whiskey Delta 4, Bravo, Bravo, Bravo.
Whiskey Delta 4, Bravo, Bravo, Bravo. Where are you, sir?
I'm in the middle of South Carolina. We talked a couple months ago, and you helped me. I turned some of my settings and stuff, and I've changed antennas and put an amp and everything on. I want to make sure everything still sounded halfway decent.
Oh, it is. If you wanted to, you could come with a little more bottom end if you wanted to. You're almost perfect where you are, but you do have some room that you could... what kind of radio are you running, and what kind of EQ settings are you running now?
I've got a YEASU's FT891, and we had set the equalizer settings where you had me do it like a couple months ago. I've got the ALC is only running maybe a quarter of the way up. I'm set for 23 on the mic gain, and the compressor set for 30%.
Yes, sir. Now, you might want to push that ALC meter just a little bit hotter to where you're mid-scale to 2/3. That is ideal. That is the fattening process right there. A lot of it. Just to run that ALC mid-scale to 2/3. Just turn your mic gain up.
We can do that. I appreciate it. I know a bunch out there waiting, so we'll go ahead and say 73. Have a good one.
Roger. What was the name there?
It's Brian. Bravo, Romeo, India, Alpha, November.
Roger, Brian. 3's that way, sir. Thanks for checking in. Have a great weekend. And if you get a chance, join us next Friday. I'd love to hear from you. This is Jim, KC9VKV, and this is the QSO-VLOG network. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout.
November 4, going Charlie Alpha.
I think there was a Charlie Alpha station. Charlie Alpha station, go ahead.
Kilo November 4, Golf Charlie Alpha. Good evening, Jim.
Good evening. What's the name there?
Name here's Mark. I'm down in Southern Pines, North Carolina.
Is it Morse, M-O-R-S-E?
M-A-R-K, Mike Alpha Romeo Kilo.
Run that past a little slower.
Sure, thanks, sorry about that. Yeah, it's Mike Alpha Romeo Kilo, Mark.
I got you, Mark. And the radio was what?
YEASU 991A.
Okay, your audio is fairly loose. If you would like a fatter signal, let's go.
Well, let's see what we can do. I did some settings based on, obviously, from somebody else's interpretation, and did some changes to some of the menu settings on it, and I just want to see how that was working. Over.
Okay, your dynamic range is probably around 7% or 7 dB, between 7 and 8 dB. We want to move that down to about 3 dB. So it starts with your compressor. Put your compressor in line at about 3. 3 out of 10, 30 out of 100. 30% of its capability. Roger.
Roger that. I got to dig up the menu settings on some of these things to make sure I'm getting in the right place.
All right. Maybe I should just give you notes, and then you can do it at your leisure, Roger?
Fire away.
All right. Inline your compressor at about a 3 out of 10 or a 30 out of 100. Once you get your compressor in line and engaged, move to your ALC meter, and with mic gain in hand, adjust your ALC meter to run mid-scale to 2/3. Just look at your ALC meter, speak in a natural voice, turn your mic gain up to where you're running mid-scale to 2/3. Roger?
Okay, I actually turned it down just a little bit. How's that? A little bit better?
Well, the trick is that you're running mid-scale to 2/3 on your ALC meter. If you're doing that, then, I've got a couple of tricks to go here.
Okay, yep, that's what I'm running. It's right at about 2/3, maybe about 3/4, depending on, of course, what the modulation of my voice or how my voice, pops onto the microphone. Over.
Oh, Roger. Some people have what I call peaky voices, and it's just that their words have an edge, a ballistic edge, about 2 dB or 3 dB hotter than other people's speaking voice. And what you need to do then is, this is something that you might consider. You've got a watt meter, Roger?
Roger that.
All right, put your watt meter in PEP. Most people run their watt meter in RMS, but can you adjust yours in PEP?
Okay, yep, go ahead.
All right, now as you speak, look at your watt meter, and you know the sweet spot that watt meter normally has, and so that is going to be your challenge. You're going to control that with your voice. So as you look at that watt meter, you want to keep it in the sweet spot, and that means that the rate of your speech is going to increase just a little bit, because if it doesn't, you will be seeing your watt meter, like that. But if you speak on a normal rate, your watt meter will reflect pretty much consistent movement towards the sweet spot. So that would be the thing. You just watch your watt meter and try to keep it just at the sweet spot by the level of your voice and your rate. Roger?
Roger that. I will keep. That's a very conscious thing to keep an eye on, and I will do my best to do that. But I want to check here, and I think I got to find some other settings there. Over.
And then your EQ. I would crank in. Do you know what your EQ is?
Roger that.
Okay, go to your EQ and let's see what we got there.
Okay, go ahead. I got like 3 different settings for the EQ. So it's EQ 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, you have a 3-band EQ. Is that a Roger?
Roger that. Then you have the EQ drive, and then you have the bandwidth for each EQ. You have a level and a bandwidth.
All right, you want your bandwidth to be 100 to 2900. If you have multiple, like broad, medium, and narrow, set them all to 100 to 2900. That's the way I would run that radio. That's the way I suggest running all radios at 100 to 2900. It doesn't make any sense to run it otherwise. Some folks think that if they narrow the band, they'll be able to be heard better in a pileup, but that's not the case. What happens is, as soon as you move out of the 100 to 2900 and start going to a narrower bandpass, you start restricting the top frequency response of your audio, and that's what you want the most. You want the articulation of your audio to be at maximum, and that can only happen in the 100 to 2900 setting for your bandpass.
Okay, I understand that. Yeah, what this has here is 3 settings for each EQ portion. So there's 3 settings for 1, 3 settings for 2, 3 settings for 3. You have level, bandwidth, and frequency for each EQ setting.
All right. Well, what I would suggest is get your book and figure out how you can maintain the bandpass at 100 to 2900. That's the first thing. You want to always run 100 to 2900. And then as far as the EQ, if you have a 3-band EQ, you want the mid-band to be flat. If you have a 3-band EQ, you want your mid-range EQ to be flat, and that gives the opportunity for your bass and treble to strike balance a lot easier. If you boost your mid-range, that is even further for the bass and treble to have to go to try to catch up for balance. So keep your mid-range EQ flat, and that will help you adjust your balance between your top and bottom EQ. Roger?
Okay, yep, I think I'm starting to figure some of this stuff out here, what these settings are. Yeah, I got the EQ1 at 100, EQ2 at 700, and EQ3 at 2900. It was at 32.
Yeah, Roger. Well, you can do. I would increase that top end EQ even more. How many dB push are you doing right now?
I got probably about 3 to 5.
And how much more you got?
I don't know how much. I don't have to take a look at it.
I did try coming a couple more clicks, more top end EQ treble.
Okay, now that's top of the mark there at 3200. That's an EQ3 frequency of 3200.
All right, drop that down to 3. And do you have? Is that a parametric?
I don't know that, sir.
I mean, does it have an adjustable width for that EQ, or is it just straight ahead?
No, there's adjustable width to it.
All right, I would put it on a medium width, top end EQ and a medium width, and run about 3K max boost.
Okay, that's right in the middle there for the bandwidth.
I would leave that right like it is, and go then back to your ALC. Anytime you make a change, you need to go back to your ALC just to see that everything is copacetic. Because when you do make EQ shifts, you do shift your audio level, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on what EQ that you're doing. But you should always refer back to your ALC, because that is the Bible for the radio. It tells you exactly what's going on. So if you're back to your ALC, you want to set that for mid-scale to 2/3. Again, speaking normally at a normal level, and just adjust your mic level to where it does read mid-scale to 2/3.
Okay, Roger, that's right about where it's at right now. It actually dropped down just a little bit, so I think it probably got a little bit better.
Roger, it sounds fuller, sounds fatter. So I think you got it going on. And again, we are recording this between 3:30 and 5. And if you would like to hear your radio, if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page. And on that page, you'll be looking for one Aircheck in specific, and that is called My Group Aircheck 13120. My Group Aircheck 13120. Roger?
My Group Aircheck 13120.
Exactly. And hopefully that'll be on page 1, if not page 1, page 2. But it should be on page 1. And then you can hear our workings as we went along and hear the end result. Roger?
Roger that, Jim. I appreciate it. You have yourself a great day. I know there's other people who are looking for your help out there, so I do appreciate it. Kilo Charlie 9, Victor, Kilo Victor, Kilo November 4, Golf Charlie Alpha 73. Have a good afternoon, sir.
Roger, Roger. Mark 3's that way, sir. And you have a great weekend. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor, Kilo Victor, the QSO-VLOG network. We have 10 till 5. We turn into a pumpkin at 5, so if you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.
Whiskey Alpha 3, United Sugar, Germany.
Sugar, Germany station. Come back with your call sign slowly, phonetically.
Okay, good evening. This is Whiskey Alpha 3, United Sugar, Germany, WA3OSG. Name is Dick. We are located in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania.
Roger, Roger, Dick. And tell me about your antenna system for about 10 to 15 seconds.
Antenna system is a 40-meter dipole and running about 400 watts right now. Over.
Roger, looking at your audio signal on a spectrum analyzer, and it looks really good. You've got a nice curve going there, a good top end and a good bottom end. So, Sally forth.
Thank you. This is I just opened up and installed a Heil PR781. I was using I was using an old studio mic that I've been using for the last 10 years that uses a microphone preamp. It was a condenser mic, and it really could sound good, but it was a little bit peaky, and I decided to get something that I did not need the preamp for. Over.
Oh, Roger, dynamic mic that's one of the best dynamic mics that I've heard. Usually, the case is that when you switch mics from a condenser mic to a dynamic mic, there will be a severe top-end frequency response difference. The condenser mic has usually a much more articulated top end than the dynamic mic. So when you switch mics and you go to a dynamic from a condenser mic, usually you have to play a little catch-up with the top end EQ to get back to where you were with the condenser mic. Roger?
That is a Roger. I've been using that mic for 10 years. I'm using a Flex 6600. And I was able to turn on the second receiver, basically, and actually listen to my signal and watch it on the waterfall. And I tweaked the equalizer to give me a pretty nice spread. And boy, I tuned here. I was going to just ask if somebody could give me an audio report. And I just happened to be at the right place at the right time, Jim. Over.
Roger, Roger, Dick. Well, we've spent about 3 years perfecting our recording mechanism to where we can fairly well capture as best as can be transmissions. We run a very low front-end RF level out of compression, so we have no band noise suck-up, and we run in antenna attenuate, so we have no overload possibilities, or have to give me an 80 over to break up, and so then we run on in, and right now I'm copying your signal on a ICOM 7300, which in the filter 1 position, which is no filter at all. Filter 1 is the least equalization as far as roll-offs is concerned, so it's as flat as possible. And the ICOM 7300 is very flat down to the bottom end, low frequencies. Roger.
That's a Roger. I'm looking at you on the waterfall, and you also have really a nice spread of frequencies, and you've got just highs a little bit accented, I guess, on not the highs, the lows, and I really like a signal with some lows in it. So, but boy, this is great. I was just kind of curious with the preamp. Sometimes I'll be cleaning things and I accidentally bump the preamp up, and then I'd end up having a terrible signal for a while. And I'm really glad I'm without it now. So, Jim, thank you very much for the check. And I know there's some other guys in here who want your expertise. So I'll let you go. And hey, I'll listen on your Facebook. Not your Facebook. Your YouTube site also. Thank you very much for the check, my friend. KC9VKV, WA3OSG.
Roger, Roger. Dick 3's that way, sir. And, we are running a homebrew condenser microphone through an ART preamp. And the gain control for the ART preamp, we're about 10 dB below maximum capability as far as the gain set on the preamp. So what we do whenever we wonder about if we're close to having some RF in the AF, we just bump that preamp gain control all the way up and take a look at what's happening 10 dB above normal gain. And if everything is still copacetic at that level, at 10 dB above normal operating level, we assume that we don't have any RF in the AF problem. Roger?
Oh, that's a Roger, and I would do something similar to that to myself at times, and it just seemed that it would be just kind of unpredictable. And I found that when, especially on 160 meters, when it would rain a little bit or when it get wet, the antenna would get wet, the SWR would go up, and I'd get a little RF in with the audio, and it was with the preamp in there, it was really hard to keep it out, and it was getting old too. I had a single tube in it. It worked very well. I mean, at times I have really good audio. Most of the time I did. But I just wanted to get something that I could take that one extra variable out of the audio chain. So, again, Jim, thanks for your efforts. And boy, I'm glad my audio's good. There's not too much to adjust here. Over.
Roger, yes, we have somebody trying to tune up, I guess. The frequencies you use, please go up 3 or down 3 or somewhere else other than an active frequency to do your tune-up. And Dick, like I say, go to that YouTube and bring up your audio. I think you'll really love it, Roger.
I will definitely do that, and I really like the microphone. One final thing, this microphone, I do have to run the microphone input up to about 80%, maybe about 85%. And I'm looking at my compression or my ALC, and it's hitting no more than 2/3 of the way up. And I'm also looking at my audio output level, and I'm not bumping into the red at all. So I guess without a preamp, it's a lot less output, and I guess a dynamic mic has generally less output anyways. Over.
That's a Roger. And, your ALC is your Bible, and just always, when you switch mics, go to your ALC and double-check that ALC, because obviously when you just switched mics, you had a very large excursion of signal level. And when you have that, then you have to go back and set and that's what you did, go back and set your mic level. And the way, obviously that you set the mic level is in reference to your ALC. The actual number of gain on the mic itself is not really relevant. The thing is your relationship of mic gain to your ALC meter gain or your ALC display. And you want to adjust your mic gain to where your ALC is running mid-scale to 2/3. If you have that running, you're doing perfect.
Roger, and that's something that I've always really kept an eye on is the ALC to make sure to minimize the overdrive and really just keep a nice quality signal. So very good. I'm glad I turned the radio on when I did. I've been out all day. I just got home and I looked at the front porch and there was a box sitting on with the microphone in it and the microphone cable, and I am running unbalanced. I'm running a balanced microphone input also, Jim. So we'll catch you later, and it sounds like somebody's getting a little impatient back there. KC9VKV, WA3OSG.
Roger, Dick 3's that way, sir. If you get a chance, join us next Friday. We'd love to hear from you and see how you've been doing, what you've been doing, who you've been talking to. So 3's for now. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor. We're rapidly approaching becoming a pumpkin. We have only a short period of time if there would be somebody that wanted an air check before we wrapped up very quickly. KC9VKV listening.
Kilo Bravo 6, Whiskey Juliet Alpha.
Station ending in Alpha. Come back with a call sign slowly, phonetically.
Yes, Jim, the call is Kilo Bravo 6, Whiskey Juliet Alpha. We talked on the 10th of this month here, and I just had a quick question for you. I was going to ask you what antenna you are using, or are you using a remote? Because every time I hear you, 5/9+10 religiously. Name here is Chris. Location is in Irmo, South Carolina.
Roger, Chris. This is a dipole, a half-wave dipole, and we do have it oriented for max smoke towards the Carolinas. Actually, we're looking for 20 overs from Montreal down to Miami with a hotspot in the Carolinas. Roger?
Roger, Jim. Yeah, it just floors me that every time I listen to you all the time, that you're always an S9+10 religiously. You got a pipeline into the Carolinas. Okay, Jim, we'll take up your time. You got other people wanting checks, and I just want to thank you. I did look at my audio profile up on your YouTube channel, and I liked it. Looks good. Thank you, Jim. KB6W Juliet.
Roger, Chris. 3-set ways, sir. You have a real good weekend, and we'll, if you get a chance, join us next Friday for our show, QSO-VLOG show. We run between 3:30 and 5 and record all the way. And right now I look, and it's slightly after 5, so it's time to wrap up our QSO-VLOG network for today. My name is Jim, KC9VKV, and since 3:30 we've been recording live. So if you participated and want to check out to see what your radio sounds like, just go to YouTube and do a call letter search for KC9VKV. Call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page, where we're now running about 930 or so QSO-VLOG air checks, but you'll be looking for a specific air check called My Group Air Check 13120. My Group Air Check 13120. Please give us a couple of days to get it uploaded to YouTube. And just a reminder, we run the QSO-VLOG network each Friday afternoon from 3:30 till 5 p.m. Eastern on this frequency, 7188. So here's a big thanks to all who participated, and we'll see you next Friday afternoon at 3:30. This is KC9VKV, and we now return this frequency back to normal amateur use. KC9VKV, clear.